All right, so we're having an intraday video here. Very interesting news as usual. Let's look at the SPY. So we have some continuation. Obviously, Friday we had a very strong close to the day, to the week, which suggested a little continuation on Monday. Here we are Monday, and we have continuation. Now the SPY is testing its prior support. So I would say we're at resistance now. There's nothing very, very precise where we are now. It's just sort of general zones of resistance, I would say. So here this counts. So we're touching resistance, the general area for the SPY as we're reclaiming support. The Nasdaq, obviously being weaker, it has underperformed versus the SPY, but we're not back testing support around 280. Instead, we're testing that Wednesday high that all the other indices had taken out of around 27, well, where we are now, 275. So, but that's also resistance. So, it's underperforming. Doesn't mean that the Nasdaq's going to go all the way back up to test its prior support at 280. So we are already at resistance where we are. This is not to say that it can't go higher, but, we are at resistance for the SPY and the Nasdaq. The Dow Jones has gone beyond its support, so it's kind of in no man's land. So for me, if I was trying to time a reversal, I wouldn't be doing it on the Dow. I'd be looking at the S&P. I'd be looking at the Nasdaq, maybe even the Russell 2000, which is kind of at prior support. So I think the S&P and the Nasdaq are at more identifiable zones of resistance at the moment. But yeah, it's just to say, we've got some continuation. And that's what I see so far in all four indices. The Dow Jones is harder to read because it's in the middle of no man's land. But the other three are kind of at their own respective resistance points. The VIX is green, which is a little surprising on a day where the markets are up pretty strong. Well, notice the Dow is only up 0.5%, whilst the others are above 1% and Nasdaq 2%. But yeah, the VIX is green, so that does suggest it's a little oversold where it is. You don't say. I mean, that thing should still be at 26 despite the market going up quite a lot. So, but I shouldn't spend long on the VIX because it's totally broken, but still interesting. It's green. The DAX, totally absurd. Obviously, it went higher, having a very, very bullish close and some continuation. That market's closed. So it's, it could even test 15,000 zone, which is really the last resistance until we're sort of venturing into the old highs, which I don't think it will ever get to. But I mean, it surprised me so far. I have no words for this. This is just I don't know, a collaboration of fools. But so far they're right and I'm wrong. So maybe I'm the fool. But this is just incredible. Yeah, no words for that other than what I've just said. So those are the markets. Now let's look at the dollar. The dollar is very interesting. So on Friday, also known as yesterday, right? I mean, if you're used to trading, and if it's a Monday, yesterday's Friday. That's just the way you'll revert to last trading day. But Friday's close, engulfing bearish candle, despite the day before, Thursday being engulfing bullish. And that's what happens on news. It just ruins the technical pattern. But I did say, look, it's so strong. It's not going to take much to test the 103.5 zone, which we did early this morning. And we've since gone below it. So for me, the dollar just looks like it wants, obviously, you can have some news reverse it. But I don't think we have any great news in the next actually on Thursday, I think we've got some CPI. That's a massive number. So that could just reverse everything. But I need to check FX Street. But let's just say there's no news. This is kind of destined like a magnet to go back down to 10, let's say 102 maybe by then. So 102 will probably end up being, and by 102 I mean 101 point something, it'll always just go below or maybe just stop above. But this zone of support looks like the one it needs to get to really bounce again and try again to break out. And now, if we do go to 102-ish and start bouncing and we hold this ascending line, real breakout is definitely going to be 106. I mean, it's not only going to be the prior high, which we did on Friday, as you can see, but it's also the zone that was already identifiable. So, that's breakout zone, but we're several days from that, and maybe we have to go test 102 before we bounce. So the dollar flushed its 103.5. obviously that equates to the FXs, the main FXs that contribute to DXY, like euro, dollar, pounds, and also, Australian dollar and Canadian dollar. Those are kind of resource-based economies. I mean, fundamentally, they could be a lot better, but those currencies are considered sort of pro-commodity currencies. So sometimes that plays a role. But anyway, euro dollar at the moment, taken out already and is currently trading higher than the prior high. So that's pretty bullish. Maybe we go up another level. I'm not sure if that's 108. Obviously, 108 will be a level, but I think this little ascending support that we flushed could, on the way up, be resistance. So if we do venture above 108, I would look for this line here to act as resistance. Dollar Japanese yen. So that hasn't gone to new lows, right? So unlike the other currencies, actually, no, the pound hasn't either, but dollar is not at new lows, unlike, let's say, the euro. So that's kind of holding. This maybe has to change now. Something like this. Yeah, just sort of down a little bit, nothing special. The pound up a little bit, obviously, but nowhere near its old, well, no, not testing its old high. I'm not going to say nowhere near because it's quite close, but it's not there yet. Australian dollar new highs, Canadian dollar not there yet. So, I mean, all of these just converge to the DXY, and just keep an eye on that. Let's see if it bounces at 102 or if it bounces before then, and let's see if this ascending holds. Otherwise you're looking for a real drop all the way back down to, well, first 100, then we'll see maybe 96. We'll see, but I think that's a bit too much. Let's just see what happens here. I'm looking for this ascending support now next. I don't think there's any major news tomorrow that will reverse this. So anyway, that's the DXY. Let's look at rates, interest rates. A bit like the dollar, right? Forget this big tail here. This is kind of fake algorithms or whatever. The trading view didn't capture the data well. So the 1 year just sort of a little off, but basically unchanged. The 2 year is moving lower, testing its old lows, right? So that makes sense. The yields coming down. We're looking for the yields to hold their prior lows. The 5 year, same thing. I need to rearrange all of these technical indicators. I don't really change them until I'm doing my live video, but this is really, I don't think losing this ascending support matters yet. Maybe it hasn't actually lost it yet, but it's really, both the ascending support and the horizontal support converge. So for me, it's really 3-point, whatever you want to call this, 5-5 zone. It's all about holding this zone, right? This little target here. If we flush that, then let's see how far lower we go. But they've all sort of got the same pattern going on. So it's all about holding. And, this ascending support, this is the last time I placed this. Now it would be here, which also coincides with the horizontal. So this is like major support, in my opinion. And then obviously on the way up would be the old high, which probably equates to the descending resistance. So, it's getting tighter and tighter. The 30 year, same sort of thing. I'm just going to leave this sort of here. I wonder though, if we lose this, does the horizontal line count? I guess you'd probably have to look at the other yields to take a direction. But yeah, you can see what's going on here. So obviously we're not testing the highs yet because of what's going on with the dollar and just generally the bond market. Let's see if this ascending and horizontal lines of support hold in all the yields. Let's just quickly look at the European. Yeah, they're sort of, yeah, we see they're not as low. So maybe this will reverse. We'll see. Remember, everything can reverse pretty quickly because for me, so far, all of this is based on this NFP, and I think that's the wrong reaction by the market, really. So remember, everything can reverse. Let's look at commodities now. Copper, for example, making new highs, nice and strong. Although copper really is the Dr. Copper, as they call it. It's the barometer of the world economy in general. So I don't like to trade copper. That's why I don't follow it that much or trade it that much. Natural gas, on the other hand, very nice, strong bounce from its 3.5/4 zone. Even though we haven't reclaimed 4, you can see it's a very nice support. And when you zoom out, you can see why. And remember at the time looking at it, didn't look good, but now it's starting to look better and it's starting to look obvious why it became support. It's just you got to buy it when it doesn't look like it's support. But so far, 3.5 to 4 looks like a good zone of support. So let's see how high it can go. Obviously, it depends on the dollar and geopolitics. Oil is, in my opinion, it's a good buy. You know, it's a good buy, and I'm looking for a breakout of this descending. Let's see what happens. I'm surprised it's not higher, to be honest, but you know, let's see what happens. If the dollar was to go up, then this would come back down to here. This would be a real buy. Anything below 70, I just don't think it will get there. But you've also got the strategic petroleum reserves that the Biden administration needs to refill, and I think everyone knows they'll be buying it down here. So I don't think it will get down there. Anyway, that's a different topic. It's just interesting to see. Gold and silver is what I really wanted to talk about now. Gold, I did say that 18, where should I go? No, let's stick to the daily and zoom in. 1880 for me was really the high that I could identify. It was the top of this wick here. And today we touched it. I remember we were 1880 point something. I don't know if we even got to 1881. We probably did, but I remember thinking, really, is this going to go all the way to 19? Which is possible, but it didn't. And now that, you know, several hours later, we're 1870, I'm a little more confident that that is the high. Obviously, anything can happen in the next couple of hours or tomorrow. Tomorrow's a whole different day, but it's looking. I mean, for me, it did what it should do. It touched 1880, it kissed it and come back down. Silver, which has a lot more resistance. I mentioned this. So obviously 24, you know, 24 has been resistance for several of these trading days, quite a few. It's also been underperforming. It lost its ascending support. I don't know where that line's gone, actually. I think I deleted it, but it would still be useful to. Where was it? Sorry, it was here. But it's lost, you know, silver has been underperforming for several trading days. I mean, it lost its ascending support whilst gold was making new highs. So that was really. So yeah, silver was expecting. I was expecting silver to face a lot more resistance, and even if we took out 24, it still has to go test this area 24.4, let's say. And even if it took that out, then I think you've got again 25, not just a psychological number, not just a gap fill on SLV, but a major descending resistance, similar to the one that it didn't take out yet either. So for me, this entire zone here is very strong resistance. We've had a crazy run. And you're starting to see gold hit its own resistance. So for me, yeah, I'm not too surprised that silver is red now, with gold giving up lots of the gains. And you know, you look back on this several days later, and the whole area here is resistance. And this is what it looks like when you're forming resistance. So I'm quite happy to see that, because I've sold quite a lot of silver. I did trim a little bit today. Let me just move on to the miners, because that's what I trade, using gold and silver as my main barometer, but obviously it has other influences like the market yields and the dollar. But GDX and GDXJ, you can see now, I mean, in my opinion, resistance sort of starting to win. And this is despite the market being up 1 or 2%, right? You got the Nasdaq up 2%, the SPY up 1.5%. And here you got GDX and GDXJ red currently. Okay, gold and silver has given back some ground, but you know, we were never up that much. I think we started the day just coming down whilst the market was going up. So for me, you know, I really pay attention to even the 1 minute candles constantly. And to me, it's getting a bit too tough. It's a trim zone. I did trim a bit more again today. I just sold a little bit more in some of the stocks. Which ones was it? It was Coeur d'Alene. It was Rain of Silver. Pan American Silver, just small little trims, get it back to its minimum value. I think I've described how I do that. Small trims. I'm already very light, but I made it absolutely, you know, fat free, and I'm expecting a move down. So I mean, so far we're red, and that's without the market going red. So imagine the market goes red. Imagine gold goes red. I mean, remember today we got the dollar flushing to new lows. You got the dollar flushing to new lows. And you got silver down, gold unchanged, the miners down. That for me signals exhaustion in the miners. We've also, I'm not going to say we're at technical resistance on GDX. We're really in the middle of, you can see where I've identified the the resistance. I don't like these blue lines because they completely, I mean, instead of just having small lines starting here, because my resistance is here, in my opinion, 31, the next one is all the way here, but you got the blue lines just taking over the whole chart. So, but between these two lines, we're in no man's land. So for me, GDX stopping at 32 is just a psychological number. GDXJ, I think 40 is a very important psychological number, and the resistance I identified is just above. So the whole zone is resistance. That's why I don't get too cute on the numbers. I think sometimes I say, for example, if you want to sell 40 on GDXJ, sell 39.89. Just make sure you get the sell in, because those 11-cent different 11 cents that you're missing changes nothing in your account. I don't care how small your account is, it changes nothing. But the difference it makes is it's the difference of getting the trade and not getting the trade. So imagine 40 is the high, it comes all the way back down to, let's say, 35, and you didn't sell anything because you're waiting at 40 and it went to 39.94. And it's going down 25%, and you were just waiting for some magical 40 number where everyone's got their sells and stop losses in. So, short stop losses. Anyway, for me, GDX wasn't the most obvious resistance zone, but 32 I can understand, middle of no man's land. And also when you see gold hit 1880, maybe some people were watching gold to sell their miners, or watching the markets, as I tend to do so, and which is what I did. GDXJ, though, 40 is a bit more understandable. It's a psychological number, and resistance is just above. So anyway, that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing weakness in the miners, weakness now in gold and silver, which is quite astonishing to say since they've had a crazy run. But if you see what I mean, it's when you look at the dollar, you look at the markets, then you say, okay, we are underperforming. Precious metals and the precious metal equities are underperforming the sectors that they've been outperforming, and they should have all the catalysts they need. So for me, it's a big sell, not a big sell, it's another sell. And that's what I did. Now I will look at Bitcoin very quickly, which has this is not a crazy move, 1.2%. Even the Nasdaq is up 2%, but still it's noticeable. It's taken out its little 17,000 zone, started to make a bit of a move. And to be honest, I really see 18,000 as a bit of a zone, 18,000/18,000 maximum 400. And then you kind of breaking out of this this descending line. And then you may have a bit of a catapult move. However, let's get to 18,000 first, because it's not the most monumental move so far, and you've got the Nasdaq up. And to be honest, I expect the markets to reverse pretty soon. So you might just get a touch of this and then back down again, just like it's done before. So, but still noticeable. Having said that, if you look at the crypto miners, for example, I own a Hive, where is it? Up 22.5%. It broke out of its descending line. I saw that. I did chase it, and I mentioned that a few sessions ago. But also, you look at the other ones. I mean, there are some bigger moves. They all have similar charts. Mara's up 25%. Riot's up 20 after already being up. We've gone from 3, just under 3 to 5. So this is 60-70% moves. Bitfarm, huge. Now it's finally taken out its descending hut. Okay, underperforming the others, but big moves in the crypto miners, even Coinbase and MicroStrategy. In the grand scheme of things, it's not really that much, right? Because they're still decimated, but still, sometimes the miners, sort of are an indication of what might come. So yeah, I thought I'd mention that. Otherwise, I'm not sure what else to cover, so I won't. Everything is kind of green. One thing I will mention is these big stocks that I've been covering, the ones that are dragging the market lower, not up that much. Google 2.5%, not impressive at all on a big bounce day like today, because normally it's the short cover rallies that are very explosive in bear markets, especially the stocks that are being destroyed the most, and you just don't get that feeling. I don't anyway. Microsoft up 2.5%. I mean, it's nothing. Apple 2%. Wow, you'd expect something like AMD 7%, Nvidia, and they've been destroyed too. But still, some of the destroyed important stocks are really not up that much. So, when you're lacking that strength and Yeah, you just I don't know, you doubt the market rally also. So yeah, that's just a very quick recap. Let's see what happens. Maybe we lose ground before the close. I'm just covering it here at a random hour, and yeah, I hope you find this useful. I might make another video at the close if things change, but otherwise I will see you tomorrow. Let me know what you think also, particularly on my description of the miners that they are underperforming. Is it really now time that they reverse? Or maybe you want me to cover something else? Let me know. Otherwise, thanks. Good luck.